Welcome to the Veterans Growing America podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Coach R.L. Simmons. I am here with my illustrious co-host, Donnell Johns, and we have another special guest for you today. We have Mr. Ted Adair. He is an Army veteran, and he is the founder and president of the Oath and Oaks. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for having me, and Donnell, once again. I can't thank you enough for the friendship and the connectivity and outreach. I'm thrilled to join you guys.
I'm excited to hear your story and for people to know and understand about your business. So tell us a little bit about you and your military experience and background.
Yeah. So, Donnell, we got a chance to connect. I think I became a member of Veterans Growing America maybe about 2 or 3 months ago. And, I got to start with how you and I connected, because I reached out to you out of the blue. And I know that I'm supposed to be explaining who I am, and I'll get to that in a second. But I got to tell you, if you're a veteran and you are, interested in getting connected and talking about entrepreneurial journeys and being around other people who are, positive and reinforcing and supporting, you got to seek out Donnell, because again, he just picked up the phone one day when I rang. But so I'll do my intro now, right? So Ted Adair, I am the founder and president of a veteran-owned small business that I launched on Veterans Day, and it's called the Oath and Oak. And we are focused on telling veterans stories, and we're anchored in downtown Leesburg. And really the big aim is to help veterans chart their next path, whether they want to be an entrepreneur, whether they want to go and upskill on things like artificial intelligence, or upskill and uppower their networking. We are anchored downtown, and we've got a bunch of events and activities planned for 2026. And Donnell, a lot of what we're doing, candidly, is somewhat similar, or at least a riff off of your great adventures. So I got to say that a good friend of mine, Carl Bedell, actually was the one that said, "Hey, Ted, I hear you're working there on Oath and Oak. You need to reach out to Donnell." So, I just wanted to give that shout out there to, your journey has been, I think, a positive mark for a lot of folks out there. And thanks for answering the call when I pinged you randomly.
No, it's important that we are there for each other, especially during the entrepreneurial journey. There's not many people that will answer the phone. They want to sell you something, but how do they help you move forward? And so I want people to really get to know you. So tell them about your military experience and background.
Yeah, so I got a chance to share this with you as well. So I'm a proud 4th generation combat veteran.
Wow.
My great grandfather fought in World War I, and I don't know if you can see it on the shelves there, but he was a immigrant and came to the U.S. and fought in the Big Red One. Was in the Meuse Argonne and was a machine gun platoon leader. So our family history goes way back. Fast forward, my grandfather, also Ted Adair, was a infantryman out of West Point and served in post-bomb Japan. And then from there, he went and taught at the academy and was an English instructor up there, where my dad was born. And then my dad spent 30 years in the Army as an artillery guy. So I kind of took up the family baton, and I served. I took my own path. I went to Villanova up in Philadelphia and did Army ROTC there. Commissioned as an artillery lieutenant way back in 2000, and there's a little bit of a connection there to the name Oath and Oak. I took my oath to the Constitution right in front of Independence Hall, and I can't think of a more appropriate place. It was May 14th, 2000, and my dad was there, and all of the other cadets in our unit went out and had I was actually looking more forward to that event than I was getting a diploma. I mean, I'm proud of the education that I was able to get, but that moment there as a family extension was super meaningful. And then I've got a younger brother who also served. He's 10 years younger than I am, and he's an Army guy. Went up to West Point and played some lacrosse up there for Coach Albarisi. So we're an Army family through and through. Sad to see them lose the Navy the other day. That was heartbreaking.
That was tough.
Yeah, it was rough. But that's kind of the long and the short of the Army connections.
I was actually at the game on Saturday, so it really hurt. But I heard you say that your grandfather was Ted Adair as well. So
Yeah.
How many generations are you? Like the 3rd, the 4th, the 15th? What?
Yeah, I'm the fourth. I'm the 4th generation. So you got Gerwin, then Ted Theodore Fadden Gerwin Adair. My mom calls him the shortest man with the longest name on the planet. And then from him, it goes to my dad, Larry Adair, and then there's me, and then my younger brother, John.
Wow.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that. I love that. That's legacy, man. I got a question for you, though. So we talk about your time in the Army. How did your military experience influence your journey into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I appreciate that one. So I would say that, I knew that service was important from the moment I connected with the ROTC program on campus at Villanova, all the way through my tours overseas and back. I'd say that I wouldn't be in this frame of mind right now where I would put myself out there in this way. And I think that military service teaches us all the things that you've probably talked about on this podcast many times, right? It's the grit and adaptability is, I think, a sense of brother and sisterhood, and certainly it is a commitment to a mission greater than yourself. And I found that, in a meaningful way in the military. And what I'm looking to do now is kind of create that. A lot of us we get out and that transition is not easy. And I do a lot of mentoring. I think hopefully there are folks that see this know that when they've reached out to me, I've done everything that I could to either, send an email on their behalf or a phone call or a text and get them connected to other veterans. It's not easy to make that leap. And, I did it way back in 2005 after my second deployment. I made a family decision to get out and finally, grow roots. And in fact, one of our catchphrases here at Oath and Oak is, stay rooted and find your outpost. I'm looking to really grow roots here in the Leesburg community. And we've been able to do that. My wife she's a high school history teacher here in Loudon. I'm super proud of her, and I think moving around as an Army brat and I think, Donnell, I'm certain that you've seen this too with the folks that you either recruited into the military or folks that you serve, but it's home is where the Army sends you. And we've always felt that. I've felt that from my parents all the way through my entire family, but I'm really making a commitment here to, connecting with veterans here locally. And that's what the Oath and Oak is all about. We're going to focus on helping veterans identify and tell their own story and understand their own values, but then how do they translate that directly into work that has meaning and purpose? And we're very, very big on artificial intelligence and the emerging economy. And so we've got a bunch of programming coming up in 26 that's going to focus on upskilling veterans on artificial intelligence.
I love that. I was just playing with an app today that used my likeness and my voice. I'm gonna put a couple videos out there to see if people know the difference between me and my AI self.
Yeah,
So tell me a little bit about, where did you get the entrepreneurship bug? That's not everybody could be an entrepreneur. In
sure.
fact, people say they want to do it until they start doing it, and then it becomes really hard and they quit.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you kind of go, all right, well, why would I work, 10, 12, 13 hours a day for somebody else when I can work for myself 24 hours a day? And, nobody told me about the, late nights and prepping for the next day. I mean, that comes part and parcel to how we function in the military. I think the difference here is I jokingly call it Irish Airlines, right? Like I'm the pilot, the co-pilot, the ground crew. I am the baggage handler. I'm doing it all. It's marketing, sales, business development. But where did the bug come from? I would say that I've had the good fortune of working for some of the larger consulting firms here in the DC metro area. I grew up at some of the, I would call them vaunted name brand organizations. And I learned a ton about business development and growth. And that's where I've been living for the last 20 years, is doing sales and BD in the high technology end. And I always wondered what it would be like to be able to branch out and build something, not just to build something. And that, frankly, that's why I hesitated and didn't start until recently. I needed to have a mission and a purpose that I knew was going to keep the flame going, right? And it couldn't be just, all right, I'm going to go sell a widget, or I'm going to sell a piece of technology, or I'm going to go and just be very narrow in one area. What I want to be able to do is help other veterans as they transition, so that they kind of get the benefit of not just my knowledge, but we're putting together a faculty and mentors that are really going to coach veterans as they go through their own transitions. And when I say transition, it could be, Hey, I don't care if you're a specialist that's getting out, after your 4 or 5 years, or you're a 3-star and you're retiring and you've done 35 years. That transition, I don't care what rank you are. It's not easy, and you gotta have a network. You gotta have a support group, and so that's really where we're focused.
I think transition is one of the ultimate equalizers. No matter what your rank is, you have to start all over again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think sometimes a private may have an advantage over us senior guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've had a couple of sergeant majors, and I've had a couple of general officers even say, "Hey, I had to reframe my thinking. I had to treat myself as if I was going through boot camp, as if I were just joining up in the military from day one." And I think that's the other thing is many of the veterans that I've interacted with, I think approach it with that level of understanding and humility, which I think is a good thing. But sometimes also that can be a disadvantage in terms of veterans jumping into either the first job that they get and not really knowing and testing what the culture is. We're so used to an order coming in and you process it and then you execute, and you don't question it because lives are on the line. It's different. It is, and you've probably, Donnell, I know that you figured this out. It's in the business world. There's transactions that take place, and you get a vote, right? You get a vote in, is this a place that is a cultural fit for me? Are my values going to resonate and work inside of this environment? And can I grow? Can I learn? Can I be better inside of that organization? And I've had the good fortune of working for several companies that do behave like that. There's ones out there that don't.
Yeah. So I want to hear like all of the nuts and bolts. So we talk about the oath and oak. What is the unique business proposition when somebody steps in the door or gives you a phone call? What does that look like? Tell us about the business.
Yeah, sure. So right now we're doing a couple of things. One is our curriculum is nearly done, and after the first of the year, we're going to be switching it on. Uh, what we do is take veterans through a series of cohorts that will help them, number one, understand their own internal, values, and understand what their skill sets are, and then how they can translate. So it's not dissimilar. There are a ton of great VSOs and organizations out there that really focus on the transition piece. But the next level of this is really, it's the networking and the intimacy. So we're anchored in downtown Leesburg. And my thesis is a couple of things. One, there's 3,000 veterans in Leesburg. There's 22,000 veterans in the Loudoun, Northern Virginia corridor. And then there's about 790,000 veterans in Northern Virginia. And these high dense military veteran locations, I think, are prime for a place and an organization like the Oath and Oak, where we'll bring in veterans in a very small scaled environment and surround them with the teaching, the coaching, and mentoring that will get them to where they're upskilled. And again, I keep saying AI, because I see this wave of the new economy coming. And there are going to be jobs that are about to be created that none of the group of us that are on this call right now can even predict. And we are going to focus on 3 tracks. Track number 1 is if you're a veteran and you've got an entrepreneurial idea, then we're going to surround you with either the mentor, the technologist, or the what I'll call like executive coach. Somebody is very, very good on the people dynamics. So that's track 1 or number. You got an idea, and I don't care if it's you are artistic and you have something that you want to put out there, or you are a technologist. We will put the right people around you. The second track is I have a thesis that veterans can make very, very good operational number 2s in burgeoning organizations. And my hope is that what we can build out is not only a network to surround these veterans as they're growing and transitioning, but also it is the coaching that's going to allow them to airdrop into an organization and be that operational number 2 upskilled on AI. So imagine, you're an entrepreneur and there's not enough hours in the day because you're doing Irish Airlines like me. Well, then you'll be able to hire a veteran that can come in and they're already trained up on how to build out AI agents to help you run the internal business functions. And I think those are the skills that are going to be highly sought after here. And then the third track is upskilling you so that you can be more marketable in the marketplace. It's no question that we're seeing larger firms are making deep cuts and It's because they're putting AI at play inside of their organizations. And what I want to see is veterans to be hyper competitive for those positions. I mean, I'm making an arbitrary number here, but let's take 100 job openings inside of any organization, whether those are intended for new college hires that are going to come in and be analysts, or, MBAs that are coming in. If there's only 100 jobs, well, if I'm that business, I really only need to hire 15 out of that 100. And those other 85 folks, where are they going to go? And what kind of jobs are they going to have? And that's why I'm very, very big and high on getting upskilled on AI. And it's not just so that you can sit behind a computer and not connect with human. That's not the intent at all. AI needs to be in either the passenger seat or in the back seat, right? It's you driving the car, and it's you figuring out what your destination is. These are just enablers and tools. But the most important piece is it's going to get folks to where they can spend less time on the mundane tasks and more time interacting with their clients and their customers, and really having that human connection that, Donnell, I know is at the heartbeat of what you do at Veterans Growing America.
Yeah. I mean, we all have to transition, no matter what it is. We transitioned out of high school, transitioned into the military, transitioned out of the military. And the world has changed, from the time that we come in to the time that we get out. So I love the idea of you helping them transition in some of the latest and greatest technology. What are some of the challenges that you face in transition, and how are you going to help people that go through your program deal with the same challenges that you dealt with?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me was the networking. And fortunately, I may not have been, the sharpest kid on the block, but I've always been decent with people and, connecting and interacting. So I think networking is huge. And I think that veterans, sometimes when we get out, we feel like either our service or the resume should speak for itself, but it doesn't. And it doesn't, especially if you're on the other side of the table from somebody that hasn't served 15 days without a shower and been in hard, dangerous. And that's not to say that, I mean, these were choices that we all made. We all raised our hands and said, this is something we're going to go do. But I think the networking piece, I talk to veterans once a week, and folks are like, hey, I've tightened my resume so much, and I've gotten it, and it's in, I've submitted it, and I'm not hearing back. And I'm like, you got to get out and have coffee with people. And it's not because the person you're speaking to is going to say, oh, great, Donnell, you're here. We had this job, it was waiting for you. We were waiting for you to show up. It's not that. It is that you are seeking advice and insight. You got to have a passionate curiosity about other people and the business problems that they're facing, and then going in and just having conversations with them to figure out what it is they're working on and how you can help. I think that there's a big thing about the service. It's in service of other people. It's being in service of somebody else's pain point and figuring out how to crack the code on it and alleviate somebody else's suffering in a strange way. I know it's kind of a little bit of a cheesy way to say it, but I think there's a lot of truth in that.
No, I like that, because it's networking. That you hear the phrase, your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
Well, people really don't understand the fact that that individual that knows them is their representative when they're not in the room. And that person can be speaking about your organization or things that you do while you're not there. I posted today on LinkedIn that we won an award. And then there was a post under it that said, it tagged the person and said, this is the organization that I was telling you about. And so that just told me that there's another person out there speaking about Veterans Growing America on our behalf when I wasn't there. But if I wouldn't have built this network, if I wouldn't have networked in order to get people there, that opportunity wouldn't be there for that person that they tag.
And it's such a simple act, right? In this day and age, to be able to just tag and say, so that's got to feel good for you, right? Because I think it's validating of the mission and the effort, and, it's benefiting somebody else. They're like, hey, by the way, go check them out, right?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
I love it. Hey, so Ted, let me ask you this. Over time, building out this business, time and service, kind of putting those two things together, were there any key lessons that you learned as you were transitioning into business that you got from the military? And can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, I think it's one, don't be bashful about asking for help. I mean, how many of us have been in the motor pool and we're like, man, the vehicle is deadlined. I got to go. And where am I going to get a Humvee tire at the level that, well, you better have a great relationship with not just your motor sergeant, but the motor sergeant next door, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that those being in those really kind of tight situations where and it's all mission focused, right? Like you're trying to go, but not being bashful about asking help. I think too many times, veterans feel like, we sometimes we put the vet bro or broette kind of, persona on, and we think that we can kind of handle it on our own. And that's not true. And that's why these kinds of conversations and the veteran network is so important. So even if you're not like, I've worked with great folks, unbelievable professionals who never served a day in uniform and would still go out of their way to help me out, right? But I've said this on other, in other conversations, my trust factor for humans, I'm generally an optimistic person. My trust factor starts out at about 80% if I know you're a veteran. It starts out at about a 40% if you're not, but it's, there's room to improve. And that goes back to the Humvee tire comment. And I'd say that, as you're transitioning, don't be bashful about reaching out, because I guarantee you there are people who have gone through the same turbulence that you have. If you're a veteran and you're having a hard time, just reach out to your battle buddies, reach out to folks who've been there and can shine a light.
Speaking of people who've been there, name one person that's been there for you on this side of the journey that you can pick up the phone at any time, excluding me, that you can pick up the phone and call and be like, hey, I have this burning business question. Who is that one person that you call, and how did they get that position in your life?
Yeah, so a couple. I mean, there's almost 3 different answers to that question. First of all, when I have that burning question about anything in life, I'm very fortunate. I call my dad and my mom. And I know that there are a lot of veterans out there that don't have that. So I'm very, very fortunate in terms of the family that I grew up in and around. That's numero uno is family. There's a great guy, Mike Marty is an old family friend, and he was a captain when I was a lieutenant, and he's gone on and had an amazing, and he's a person that, especially in this entrepreneurial journey, I reach out to him. 1, because of the military connection. I mean, 2, this is a person who has gone and worked for organizations like care.com and is now heavily into data analytics and marketing for major events. And I think once you lock in with a mentor somewhere, that you should seek out other people that have the same values and standards that you have, but also folks who are going to challenge you and make you better. So those are the folks. And then the third category is just the folks that I served with in the military. I don't know that I'm going and ask some of those guys for business advice, but I'm asking for life advice, and I'm also checking in on them, at least once a week.
Also, I don't know when this is going to air, but we're in the holiday season. What is one bit of advice that you have for veterans during the holiday season? Because this could be, a rough time for people.
I think that it's human connection. I think we've seen that because of COVID, right? There's this just coming out of that time frame, and especially if you don't have a ton of family or friends, service, get out, volunteer. I've done a ton over the years with Boulder Crest Foundation, which is based out in Bluemont, Virginia. They focus on post-traumatic growth. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization. I think that volunteering, and not only that, you just feel good after that, but also it's demonstrating that for my kids. So if you are kind of stuck in a cycle, and there's 1,000 organizations out there within, a mile of your house that could use your help. So get out. And frankly, that's one of the things that inspired me to launch Oath and Oak, is to get more engaged with the community. As an Army brat, and I might be repeating myself here, but moving around every 2 years, and then really going into some hard work here as a consultant and an IT business development and sales guy. I spent all of my time either traveling or in and around the area, and not a lot got time spent downtown Leesburg in the community. And there's a ton of organizations down there that are doing great work, and I would encourage you. In the show notes, you could probably hit up, Boulder Crest Foundation is one. There's probably, I don't know, a dozen other that I'll throw your way before the end of the episode.
Oh, I love it. So let's talk a little bit about your VGA experience. Why did you become a member of VGA?
A couple. One was Carl. He said that, hey, Donnell's got, a great community that he's built, and you probably want to get plugged in and connected. And Coach, you and I were talking about this earlier before we really started, but I think there's something to, putting yourself out there and doing some things that you normally wouldn't. And it's not, I'm actually an introvert despite being, kind of out and engaging. And I thought, well, okay, this is a great opportunity to get out and see what other veterans are doing. And, when I saw the website and I saw what you were posting about, it felt different than a tech startup incubator, or, it just felt a little bit more homegrown. And that's what appealed to me because of the local community aspect. And I'd say that growing up on a military post, moving every 2 years, I'm a Colleen kangaroo. I graduated from Colleen High, Fort Hood, was born there, went back for second and third grade, graduated high school there, was back as a lieutenant. Living on post there, it was a good place to be. I mean, it was, and I've always searched for that kind of community. Again, home is where the Army sends you, and trying to recreate that in a strange way after deciding to only do my 5 years and getting out. So when I saw what you were doing, I thought, okay, there's something that has the DNA of something that appeals to me.
I love that because we are connected locally, big time. Now we're connected to the governor's office, our local senators, our local supervisors and mayors, and local organizations that help out entrepreneurship. And so, the one thing that I felt was important is that we get involved in the local community and then show the value of our veteran community. So thank you for being a member of Veterans Growing America. And the cool part is we're partnering to make sure we extend the growth of both of our organizations. In fact, all three of our organizations are working together now.
That's right. That's right. So I got to give a shout out and say thank you for that. That first day that I came out and met with you, I got a chance to meet with Sergeant Major Mark Riley, and that guy is doing amazing stuff with music and veterans. And I would never have gotten a chance to connect with him and meet with him if you weren't hosting your regular cadence of get-togethers. And I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm going out to this thing. I know I'm in Leesburg, so it's far. Donnell, you're probably like, Ted, you live on the moon. and I proved it when I made you drive all the way out to do my podcast with me out here. And it was but it was great to host you that day, because that morning I had a couple of other veterans cycle through, and I didn't appreciate how many veterans there were in my local community until I got out there and started, connecting and networking. And I thought, well, if everybody was going to do what I was originally doing, was just kind of sitting back, then nobody's going to connect, nobody's going to meet. So I'm glad that VGA was there for a place for me to come and connect with other veterans. It was great.
So, Coach RL. So check it out. I went out to, what was the name of that bar?
Rebellion.
Yeah, so I went to Rebellion, and it's small townish, but it's big city at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you walk in there, and it's this quaint little bar. And I went and I asked for him, and they said, he's upstairs. And he took me to this door that wasn't a door. You had to knock twice, kick, been around a couple of times.
Back in the speakeasy, huh?
Yeah.
And they let you in the back. I wasn't paying attention that day, but I had to drive all the way out there, and I'm like, I thought it was gonna take me, like 20 minutes, but it ended up taking me an hour to get there. I was like, oh my God, where am I going? And so I didn't plan on that, but at the same time, it was definitely worth it. He had a great camera crew out there. It was a great experience. And then I got this cool hat. I forgot to bring it up here. I was gonna don it while we were here, but
yeah, I should have brought mine. I'm still working on my marketing game. I told you it's Irish Airline. I'm spinning a couple of different plates, but the next time if I get invited back for another episode, I'll make sure to have some swag prominently.
You gotta have it. You gotta have, like, I have the VGA shirt on. You gotta have the swag on.
You got to be in front of the people at all times.
Yeah,
say never get caught slacking, man.
That's true. Not wrong.
Hey, so let me ask you this though. Like, first of all, I really appreciate you sharing your time and experience. And then hearing what you're doing, we understand that you are trailblazing. So as a trailblazer, and I'm asking you this question as a trailblazer, do you have some final thoughts and words for the viewers and listeners and those that either may be following your path or maybe transitioning soon? That's me. And people that are planning to do some of the things that you've already done, what are some advice that you would have for them?
Yeah, I
As
go
final
back
words.
to that networking theme. That's the thing. I always say that the Army gave me all the good things that I have in my life. It also taught me some tough lessons, and I think that veterans, whether it doesn't matter which branch you are, you've got to figure out how to shed the yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, rigid. Like there's always respect there, right? For any veteran or senior, still maintain that, but as you transition into the civilian world, it's not that rigid, right? And so you've got to be able to figure out how to navigate those subtleties and read the room. But it's the networking piece that I go back to. The only reason I'm here having this conversation with you all is because I was fortunate enough to have many networking conversations with folks that are veterans, that are entrepreneurs, with retired senior folks from, World War II all the way to present. So I'd say that in the last kind of year, I've wanted to do this for 10 years, but in the last year, the amount of power networking that I've done with people, not because I am trying to sell anything or anything like that, I'm seeking out advice and insight from a ton of folks. And there has been few people that have said, no, and so what I would say to you, if you're a veteran and you're transitioning and you need to get connected, then reach out to folks. They will make the time, because a lot of us have been there and gone through exactly what you're going through.
And it's one question that generally gets asked. I thought Donnell was going to ask it, but I didn't want to slide past this one. What is your superpower?
Ooh, this is I hate to say, likability, I guess, it's a feature, not a flaw. I have always had this, I'm genuinely interested in other people. And I think that my parents taught me that it doesn't matter what walk of life, where you come from, you treat everybody with respect, because you have no idea what you could learn from somebody. And I think that's one of the things I really value and appreciate from my time as an Army brat, my time in the military, is, connecting with folks from all over the country. And I think it's just that superpower is that likability, but it only comes from being genuinely curious and interested in other people.
I love that. Before we get out of here, I want the people to know how to get a hold of you. So do you have socials, email? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so start with the website. Sign up to join the wait list, and in 26, we're going to go live with several of our upcoming podcasts. You can find me on Instagram. It is at the Oath and Oak, Facebook, and the YouTube site will also go live. But I'd start with the website. That's the easiest place, so you can spiral and go down the rabbit hole from there. But I did want to do a quick plug. We've got happy hours that are going to be starting up in and around some of these places in Leesburg that Donnell you've gotten introduced to. We've got several workshops that'll be in the works, and we've got something cooking with Mark Riley and the Washington Tattoo here in Leesburg. That's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, hit all of that up, and of course, folks can always reach me through DMs through the Instagram or the website.
Love it, Ted. Truly appreciate your time, man.
Well, thanks for having me. This was super awesome. I super excited to spend some time with you guys.
I love it. Donnell, before we get out of here, can you let people know how to get a hold of VGA and how to continue to support it?
Well, I'm gonna pass it back to you because they need to know how you can support them and the great things that you do. So if you could share with our audience a little bit about Coach R.L. Simmons.
Hey, man, I first and foremost, I really do appreciate you always put me on the platform. I know I started this to continue to help veterans, but for you to say, hey, we have this platform, I want you to share it. I truly appreciate that. So at the GOAT Business, the GOAT Legacy, what we do is we help you simplify finances and business. A lot of times people get lost in the translation, even on YouTube and TikTok, and people get misinformation. And sometimes when you get a certified financial professional, they are going to regurgitate information as if they got it out of a book, and it's really hard to understand it. Finances aren't that complicated, and it is just an evergreen thing. And so what we want to do is help simplify finances and business. So you can reach us at the two websites. For the business is yourmoneygoat.com. For the finances is yourmoneygoat.com, and then for the business is thegoatbusiness.com. And we are here to help and support you. Back to you, Donnell.
Y'all contact him. Veterans Growing America. So our tagline is you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And as you see, we're on this podcast with 3 dynamic individuals. If you want to get connected with these individuals, you can go to veteransgrowingamerica.com, click on our directory, and you'll find a plethora. I don't even know how to spell that. A plethora of veteran entrepreneurs on our directory. You'll find blogs and all kind of information. But people say thank you for your service all the time. Unfortunately, we can't eat that, but the way that you can support is by supporting a veteran business. And by doing that, you're truly saying thank you for your service, and we truly appreciate that. You could also find out all the information that you want on our socials, Veterans Growing America on every platform except TikTok. There's no reason why we don't have a Veterans Growing America TikTok. It's just that we don't have one. But follow us on all social media page, and then also come out to Veterans Growing America in Woodbridge and shop, baby.
I gotta schedule it into the calendar. I'm gonna come see you.
There we go.
I love it. And again, Ted, thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your experience. Truly appreciate it.
Much appreciated, Coach. Thank you.
We are over and out.
We did it.